States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have two items on our agenda this morning. First, we have a pilot application for 302 Globe LLC. And for the record, we have a request from the city of Watertown to move ahead with this. They passed a resolution, and that was nice. Marshall, or who's working with this, or you want to walk us through this? I have a few questions as we go, but
sure. This is a opportunity for us to get a piece of blighted property redeveloped, and I think it's a great project. That piece of property is sat as a real eyesore of the community for a long time, and did have a interesting meeting at the city council chambers there to get their approval for us to move forward. Went very well. There was a pretty good discussion on the project about the different sort of types of incentives that the developer could use, that the city should look at. So I think that for the overall, it was a good discussion and positive, and everybody is in agreement that this property needs to be redeveloped and move forward.
page 12 of the application, they have 5G and 13G. Do we have any idea who that is or what that is, who they are or what they are?
Gee. Are you saying page?
It's
what
the
page?
owners.
It's the owners.
Part of the
It's on
owners.
page 12 of our packet, I guess.
Oh,
The owners.
I don't.
Ownership.
I've been working with Dan Query on this, and that must be his the structure of his business.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you look at the ownership shares, 5G and 13G or whatever they are, there must be like names of companies,
They are.
LLCs or something, because like one's got 56%, one's got 33 something percent, and then there's a listed individual, Dan Query. So
Right.
I'm kind of guessing they're LLCs or something to the effect. But
Right.
it'd be worth our council actually knowing what these are.
For sure.
Yeah, as part of our due diligence, we're going to have to get documents related to those entities to make sure that proper authorizations are in place to enter the pilot agreement and things. So we'll be reviewing the corporate docs as part of our due diligence.
Okay. That's
Is it anything to worry about now during the application stage that we sort of just have a name of a entity?
I think they signed something saying there's no conflict of interest at all related to the entity. So I think that should cover us.
Be nice to know who the owners are of those two entities.
Sure. Well, like I said, part of the due diligence, we'll definitely find out who that is.
We have let me grab the structure, it's really hard to read, but it gives you sort of a layout.
okay. Well, Peggy's doing that. The other question, or the other, page 22 of our packet, page 16. I think their salary and fringe benefit ranges are a little bit low. Seems that the minimum wage is $31,000 a year right now.
About the same thing.
Where they're gonna get somebody for $15,000 or $20,000 a year.
Oh, right. And it's full time, it says too.
Very, very hard to read.
Oh,
My guess on that, Dave, is
When I
those
put it in the
are
packet.
part-time positions within this is like a property management group. My guess is those are part-time positions within their organization. 'Cause I agree, you couldn't hire somebody full-time for those ranges of salaries.
No.
but they're
But if you
listing
have
them
an
as full-time
individual working on
equivalent.
state,
They're listing
it
them as
might be the
full-time.
person that's already managing the Globe Mini Mall and some other stuff. That would make sense.
Yeah, it could be a couple of people
Yeah.
equaling one
Yeah.
full-time.
Well, it says retained or created too, so. But I agree with Dave. I think that's something we should ask for some more information on.
Yeah. So I suspect the answer would be if the salary range is correct, it's not a full-time position. It might be like a 0.5 or a 0.3. I'm guessing it's a shared position.
Then it should be marked full-time
Right.
equivalent, right?
Then they, that comes into effect for our cost benefit analysis.
I used 3 full-time equivalents on the cost benefit analysis. I used the low range of salaries, so that we're not overly optimistic when we do the cost benefit analysis,
Okay.
and we still get a 12-to-1 ratio, so it's still very favorable. Any enhancement of salaries or fringes will only raise that ratio.
Interesting ownership structure.
Those were my questions. And
Frankly, David, mine kind of mirrored yours. Thank you for bringing them up.
Do we have the results of any of the environmental testing, asbestos or the structural? That's something that
Something
due
we'll
diligence.
do, I'm sure.
I looked at that building years ago, not for myself, but for a client.
Yeah.
The asbestos abatement is gonna be substantial,
Really?
substantial.
This is a 10-year pilot.
15 years.
It has 10 in here. Page 27 shows a 10-year pilot, and that's what we did with other housing projects we've done. I think that's what Lawman was, and Townfield was a 10-year plus. I thought we were gonna mirror the standard business exemption, 50% down, declining by 5% a year.
The cost of benefit looks like it's 10 years also.
No,
It's 15.
it's 15. Your summary sheet.
Yeah. And that's also on the cost benefit analysis.
Has this got full zoning approval already?
There was, yeah, he did, yep, that was in there.
Holy shit.
If you can follow that, I'll give you a prize. Yeah, someone named with the last name Wilkie's involved. Rosedale.
Do we know who the lender is?
No, at this point.
What was the total project cost in this?
$3 million.
Yeah, $3 million.
Three or 3.5?
3.35.
Page 11's got 4 million.
Yeah, but it's a little over 4 million, 4.2.
As all we're doing is a pilot tax.
Right.
That won't kick in or become effective if they don't finish the project, correct? If they don't go through it. So, you know, you mentioned substantial asbestos abatement. the surprises and that type of thing in a project that could push the cost well above where they have if they haven't done their due diligence. So the question that Chris had about the environmentals.
The phase one's been done.
Phase one.
We should have a copy of that.
Yeah, and that
It
is,
says page 16, asbestos survey was completed,
Right.
plus the structural survey.
Is there any PCBs? So I guess, I mean, is all we're doing is if the project it comes to fruition, we're doing a pilot agreement with them and sales tax abatement. and
Sales tax
everything.
abatement, but the sales tax abatement goes as they're during their construction,
It goes right away.
so they,
So,
Yeah, I mean, if the costs of doing business get higher, they're gonna have to come back. We're gonna approve it up to a certain level. If
I
costs continue to
understand
grow,
that.
they'll have to come back for additional approvals at that point.
On page, excuse me, what page is this? Page 19 of the packet. Christine already asked about bank financing, and then there's some equity and then some other grants and things. The number at the bottom, isn't that supposed to be the cumulative value of everything?
Yeah, it should.
I'm having trouble, none of the numbers match. Cost of benefits got different numbers than what's in the application, and, I mean, they're all close, but. they
Yeah,
don't seem to
the
match.
first two numbers total 3.377.
Yeah, and there's 2.9 at the bottom, and then there's some grants that dump in there, so I mean, I would think that's closer to the 4 million that was on another page. I didn't like add them all up,
Mhm.
but 3, 3, and 6 is close to 4. Just, not that it's a big deal, just, I guess the question, Lyle, where did you get your input data to do the cost of benefit? Which page?
Came from,
Your numbers don't exactly match anything that's in here either.
that's kind of where I was coming from.
When he did this revised page, he only updated that equity part, he didn't change anything else.
Oh, say that loud and tell everybody. Do you have the other original one?
They're trying to get an approval to the sales tax abatement on this project.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
17.
17?
Yep.
I think it's 17 in your packet, Rob.
Yeah,
That's the 4 million too. That's what I use as the basis for the total project cost.
okay, so the 4035 should match the cost of benefit. I'm just trying to find that 4035.
So he didn't total it down.
Peg is saying that, if you look at page 13, he only updated the equity and not everything else. It didn't total it down.
Because he had 400,000 in there first, and now he got a million for it.
Well, my
Marshall,
first,
you're clicking something.
my first thought is we should get this a corrected application. I mean, I have no problems. I'm not a member of the committee, let me say that. Sending it forward to the full board fluorescence.
Make sure everything matches.
And then we can, at the full board, if we have a corrected application, we could, the first step would be to do the inducement, correct?
Yes, correct. And the full board would be setting it for public hearing.
Right.
At the next board meeting. Well, at the next board meeting, we'd be setting it for a public hearing at a future board meeting.
I'd have a lot more concerns if we're doing a pilot, so this is asked by the city to grant abatement. It's not like we are putting $500,000 of agency funds or LDC funds towards the project, so I think there's time to get the application corrected so it's easier to read along with if we still need a more detailed ownership chart, I don't think it's gonna get any better than what we have.
I don't either.
So,
Bill, can you share that?
oh, I'm sorry,
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
go to the right.
Let's see if I just could read it even.
You can read it, I just can't follow
Just
it.
can't, it's, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Another question I have is on page 14 of the packet. Maybe I'm just reading it wrong. The real estate taxes are 4,000 and some change. But then there's current taxes. Is that back taxes? Like what, how did we get to 153,000 on the building?
I think that's the assessment.
That's the
That's the assessed
assessment.
value.
Okay, yeah, I was reading it wrong. It says provide assessed value. Sorry about that. It just read through taxes and I'm like, how do we get, I thought that maybe there's some back taxes at stake here. Sorry. Reading comprehension issue. I agree with what Paul said. I have no issue with all of the information in here. There's just some things the dots don't seem to all connect in a straight line. Some of the values of the project and the cost of benefit, they're all close, but they're not like all the same numbers from the application. I can't like say this number goes there. It may just be, there's been updates and certain documents weren't updated. But do we believe, to what Joe said, do we believe page 17 is what we would be approving to the full board up to that amount, and then we just get the application updated and then the full board can act upon it or not act upon it? Is that what action we think we're taking, Dave?
I think what we're talking about is moving the project to the full board with a request for the updated application at that time.
Okay,
That time, if the board feels comfortable, then we can move ahead,
okay.
setting up a public hearing and doing the initial inducement.
I'll make sure all the numbers are squared away.
We need to
Yeah, I mean,
find,
17, page 17 looks somewhat accurate. There's another page where the numbers don't really jive. I guess where the sources come from.
Right.
Yep.
I think they do add up. It's just miscalculated somewhere.
there's a couple other things we need to look at is in the past, we bounced off adequately tracing whether or not what they put in there for request for sales tax abatement, they've exceeded it and we've had to kind of go through and amend that. So we need to make sure that our sales tax numbers are accurate. So we aren't reviewing it later on. If the price goes up, we'll have to, they need to understand the need to come back and ask for an amended sales tax exemption, correct? Am I missing?
No, that's correct, yep, you're correct.
And the other thing is, are we doing a 10-year or 15-year pilot?
Cost benefit analysis is a 15-year.
It'll only get better if it was a 10-year exemption, correct?
Probably what it is.
And did they
Ask
have
for
the,
a 10-year or 15-year.
We were just going straight UTEP.
UTEP, that's good.
well, the UTEP doesn't say, the UTEP says they can't exceed 15 years. And I'm looking at past history, what did we do for the apartments up on 202 and Beaver? I know Lawman was a 10-year, wasn't it?
No, they were 15 years. The last 5 years was full taxation, but it was a 15-year pilot. On the
Okay.
Morgan projects.
Okay, so really it was a 10-year, it was a
10-year
15-year
was a
pilot, but
reduction,
only
yes.
10-year abatement.
abatement was only for 10 years.
The
So six,
abatement was 10 years, yes.
and they were really funky ones because there was an alternate distribution
It was.
schedule in those, if I recall correctly.
That's correct.
So we don't want to get into that because then it becomes a deviation.
The ones we did for, in Sackett's Harbor, they were also 15 years. The project there. By the Mill Creek there.
Lawman's?
Well,
Lawman?
they haven't been there 15 years and
Well, they did, yeah, they did. They were there 14 years and then they
so,
sold.
okay.
Last year.
So the question becomes, what abate, we have to have a discussion about an abatement schedule if they didn't ask for one. I certainly think that doing the 25, 50, 75 level exemption when there's residential properties, if we could do some 485B, which is the 10 years, and then I don't mind doing 15 years with a similar scenario, but my comments before were concerned about the rentals competing with other rentals in the community. And
That's always been our concern.
so you start giving them that much abatement, I'm worried that, and they're putting market rate rentals in.
So your preference, Paul, is for 10 years? A 10-year abatement?
A 10 years of abatement, but if the pilot has to go 15 for their financing, where you have the last 5 at 100, that would be my suggestion, but it's up to the committee to what you send forward, but there's nothing listed here. And my other question is, did you have any talks with the assessor to see if he's estimated what that would carry as a market value when done?
I have not. The applicant estimated the assessment to be $1 million when completed. And that's what was used in the cost benefit analysis.
Okay,
And on the Lawler properties and on the Autumn Ridge, it was a straight 50% reduction for 10 years and then full tax in the final 5 years. So
okay.
When you look at some of the other project cost details, I'm sure this will work itself out, but the sales tax abatement number, what's left over is the labor. When you divide out the number of hours that the applicant has shown, the average rate is $23.60, which is fairly union cost with fringes and all that. So like, it might be a little low on the labor cost, but I mean, the sales tax will certainly work itself out if we're approving up to that amount. I know we don't give it unless they earned it. I think the labor and materials are not exactly, because they have to use prevailing wage and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I don't think 2360 is going to get it for workers. And 2360 an hour, I can clarify.
So the other ones were straight 50% for 10 years and then full taxation for the last 5. Is that what you're telling?
no, that's not exactly correct. The Autumn Ridge was structured like that. The Lawler was a 50% deduction over the full 15 years.
Paul, what is your concern, if we were to never exceed the 50% exemption, is your concern the duration or the amount of exemption, or both?
My concern is competing with the private sector rentals. We know that in the past, there's been concerns and we're trying to get people to upgrade their properties with our programs. And if this was subsidized, but when they're going in market rate and they're getting breaks, I'm balancing getting that ugly building fixed up versus the competition with when they're coming in at market rate and how much we're given. So I want to be consistent. If we're going to get into to residential or apartment dwelling type things, we need to be consistent with what we've done in the past. So if we've done 50% for 10 or 15 years, that would be consistent with what we've done in the past.
What do we do for the Woolworth?
I think that was a straight UCA. I believe.
Because you know, after we got pushed during the, you know, Fort Drum expansion time and housing, you know, we always looked at it and said, and that's why we went to the city and said, you know, we're not, because we don't want to compete with the other market rate housing people and, you know, in the city. And I think that everybody understands that if this wasn't this dilapidated building eyesore sitting there, we probably wouldn't be having this discussion at all. So I agree with you, Paul, that we really should look at it and make sure that we're not, you know.
I think it makes sense to give abatement to upgrade that facility. It's been an eyesore for years.
I agree.
So if we were to do, what did you say? We did 10 at 50% and the last 5?
Last 5 at 100%.
Why don't we see if that would work for the developer before
Okay.
we decide that's the final thing? If he needs more, we can always,
The question I said, what did he ask for? What did they have to ask for?
I didn't see anything what he asked
Not
for.
either.
Is, Lyle, you know, forgive me for not knowing this, but like on page 21 here, is this our chart? Because it only goes to 10 years.
Yeah, that's our chart.
And so, I mean, is he just going by, would he just, you know, so we're going based on, oh, it must want a 10-year pilot because it goes to 10. When it could be that, you know, he didn't even, because he was asking for a 15, but there's no real method to spell it out.
This is never filled out by the applicant.
Okay,
This is always ours to do.
this is our side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marshall, when you
It says
talk
it
to
too
this,
in there.
I saw a picture of you sitting looking like you wanted to be anywhere but there.
At the city council meeting? Yeah. Yeah, that would be accurate.
Yeah.
I got sent a picture of you in the back of the room. But anyhow,
God. I want to see that picture.
when you made the proposal and went and talked to the city council, did you talk about term of exemption?
I don't remember saying specifically, but I was thinking that this was a 15-year,
Okay.
because that's, you know, what I considered our.
So you didn't tell them it was a 10-year deal or you tell them it was a 15-year deal?
No specifics, other than, again, what I believe I probably said was 15 years, 50%. But I'm not 100% sure. But you know, the only thing that I would have definitely been specific on was the 50%. You know, tax.
I think we should, excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
overtalk.
certainly.
I think we should go in, like we have in the past, go with the 10-year at 50% and the 5 years at 100%. If that's what, you know, John?
I would agree with it.
We're also talking about total square footage of 28,000 and 14 is attributed to commercial space. So when we're talking about competing with other residentials, this is a mixed use building, so it's a little bit of a different, it's not
I think
apples to
I
apples.
think It's 11 apartments is what they're.
Right, but, and it says the commercial space is 14,000.
And you can bring
And the
that
total
back
is
to us
28.
That would be the entire first.
at the board level.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to get all this stuff squared away. And
Okay.
we'll, I mean, if you're so inclined to move it forward, that would be great. And we'll get it all straightened out. And it's bottom line.
I don't think we should, this is, for me, if that is gonna be a deal breaker, that they need 50 for 15, if they can show us that's a deal breaker, I'm not adverse to considering that. But
Let's just see what he says. Absolutely.
Rob?
Yeah, I, no issue with any of this. The only question, again, back to the applicant, they specify that they're an opportunity zone fund, and I was just trying to Google some of the things. It's an IRS designation. That may or may not require 10 or 15 years, so I guess it's a discussion you'll have to have, Marshall, and see if we're leaning towards 10 to be competitive and consistent with other past pilots, and make sure, like Paul said, it's not a deal breaker. I guess you'd have to show proof that it's not a deal breaker. Everyone's gonna claim it's a deal breaker.
well, we're talking a 15-year pilot anyhow, just 10 years would be abatement is what
Right.
we're gonna roll out.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I was getting at, Paul, is if Marshall did maybe slip and say 15 years, 50% abatement for the whole 15 years, that is a difference in tax incentive, abatement from 50% at 10 years. And
I was more,
just a matter of what the applicant thinks.
I was more concerned that we don't offer more than the city was under the impression.
Mhm.
Not that we're offering, we could offer less, but I didn't want
Right.
to offer more than what the city was. led
It's
to
easy
believe.
enough to go back and look at the video.
Mhm.
Nice try.
I'll do it. Absolutely.
I
I'll get
think
straightened up.
if they voted on something based upon yours, I think that's what we should go with.
Okay. With this
Just double check
discussion,
that.
100%.
yeah, with the discussion we've had here,
Yeah,
I'd entertain a motion to move this to the full board.
I'll move that.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
the resolution's very vague.
Yeah.
Added in detail.
We have our lending and collection policy and procedures.
Don't we have to close this meeting and go to the LDC?
Now we
Okay,
have to
one
do
more
the
item.
IDA first.
Oh, I didn't see an IDA one in the packet, sorry.
Yeah.
I must have the old packet, I'm sorry.
So there's a lot of red line stuff that's been taken out, and I was just wondering if somebody can run us by why we're doing this, or.
Yeah, in the details for like the micro enterprise loan program, we require that they have to attend the small business development class. I found out that the class is they just started doing it again, but it's at OCC, or they
Okay.
have a 15-week. So we want to take out the verbiage in the sense, just say, we refer them to the SBDC to help them with their business plan and financials. Don't make it a requirement anymore.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
And also, submitting applications, going with what everybody else has. And in my little time here, you need more time than 15 days. So I want the 30 days, and it goes consistent with everybody else. Put your application in 30 days, because we all have to do an analysis of it. So that's the suggestion on that, for both the micro enterprise and then also for the RLF.
Mhm.
And some fine tuning funding uses, we put in inventory and real property, so just some minor changes, but just getting it back up into cohesiveness.
Okay.
On page 37, under reports to be kept, it just lists several items, but should life insurance assignment be in there?
I'm trying to find 37.
Loan documents to be kept in the office. It lists some, I'm assuming that it would fall within there somewhere, but because we talk about life
Evidence of
insurance,
insurance,
number 12, reports to be kept.
yeah, but look at number 2, evidence of insurance.
Right, but
So-
it just says hazard and flood.
Oh, maybe we should put life in
Because that
there.
one's annual. Once we're secured as life insurance, unless they come back and say, can you take us off? It doesn't change.
This is true.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just didn't know if it should be another line item in there at all, but
I guess it doesn't hurt.
Doesn't-
Right.
Yeah, we can put it in there.
just because we talk frequently now about requiring it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we've had so many people not require it. Like with,
But it's not always applicable. I don't know.
And you could put if applicable.
If
if applicable,
applicable.
yeah.
Another one that does come up from time to time, and it might be baked in here, is the ownership structure. I know that changes from time to time, and should it be updated annually? Or is it baked into one of these other?
That's in our annual reporting, isn't the,
But ownership structure?
yeah, it's not.
No.
I
Usually,
know that's given Justin headaches in the past.
usually the documents just state that it's an event of default,
Right.
as if the ownership.
Yeah, the loan documents speak to them when they do sign the actual loan agreement. Basically, they say if you
Okay.
change ownership structure, and you don't notify us to a certain extent, then that would be a default under the loan. So
I guess my question is, should we just by default ask for it to be updated annually?
Yeah.
The reminder.
We have a hard enough time getting financials annually.
Well, if you don't ask, you're never gonna get.
That's true.
Right?
We do a questionnaire on there as your ownership structure change.
You know,
Anything else?
figure something out later.
That's a good point.
I entertain a motion to send this to the full board.
Thank you.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything?
I'm sorry, I only had one more question. I was still on to my notes. Under the appraisals, it just says, all real estate loan requests will require an acceptable appraisal. We don't order those. Typically, it's provided by the lender if it's a participation.
Great.
So we're not really being definitive there on who orders it.
Oh, we could say the lender will provide.
What page you on, Chris?
38, number 14, appraisals. It just says all real estate loan requests will require an acceptable appraisal report determined by the loan review committee. It was just a general question on whether or not we, in my experience, I don't think we order them.
No, we don't. Yeah, we usually get it from the banks.
No further discussion, sorry for the interruption.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Now call to order the Jefferson County Local Development Corporation Loan Review Committee. Once again, it's Wednesday, May 29th, 2024. And on our agenda, we have our lending collection policy and procedures. So for the LDC, we're not doing business or real estate acquisition. We've taken that out.
Real estate acquisitions usually would require a 20-year amortization.
Okay.
We just don't have that much money. We can't tie our money up for 20 years. And ordinarily it would require a lot more money than we are able to provide anyway.
Would business acquisition remain and take real estate
Well,
out?
Yeah, you're dealing with probably a situation where it's working capital
Mhm.
if you're doing a business acquisition, so.
Any of the other three, yeah.
I think the comments that were made before about improvement to the report section and the appraisal section would be brought into here.
Mhm.
Well,
Oh, okay.
Same.
Yep.
On the ownership structure, we do an annual questionnaire to all projects. We can indicate on there, please, has your business structure changed or something that we can put on that report.
but I still think there was evidence of key man life insurance and then
Yeah.
Christine brought.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Appraisal. So whatever the comments that were accepted in the prior one,
They should
could be
match.
brought over to here.
So we've had a couple instances where we've waived the key man life insurance.
We've had a number of issues or times where we've had to because the applicant was unable to get it.
Right. So we still have the ability to do that.
As a board, you
I mean,
know,
the
Just
board
has to be
can say,
documented.
due to these circumstances and.
Yep.
You know, like the gentleman down in 3 Mile Bay, you know, didn't want to give him key man life, didn't want to give him life insurance because he was a vet.
Yeah, which
Oh,
is.
really?
Well, it was cost prohibitive for them.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
exactly, for the project and like that, it's,
Mhm.
You can buy it, but do you want to pay 18 grand a year for life insurance?
Right.
anything else with this? I have a motion to send this to the board for approval.
So moved,
I'll move that.
second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else? Marsh?
Nope.
No? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day.
See you later,
Bye,
Rob.
sir. See you, Rob.
Bye.
Recording stopped.
50%.
Absolutely.